Former business guy who turned senator from Indiana, Mike Braun, is with us now. How can that be? They benefited from the Trump tax cuts, but they prefer Bloomberg?
So they're clearly confused because if you look into the details, the second page of Bloomberg, almost every tax that was rolled back, that rate's going up. I want to divide it into a few areas. The enterprisers and most small businesses probably operate as an LLC or a sub S. That rate went from 39.6 to 29.6. Bloomberg wants it right back up to 39.6. In my business, when Obama raised the rate from 35 to 39.6, we were trading off growth for paying taxes. They clearly need to see that Michael Bloomberg is emphasizing stuff to roll back that's helped them. So I think once that gets vetted, they won't fall for that, because small businesses, it's been the hottest economy for us since I've been doing it, and that's been 37 years. And C Corps always find their way. You know, that went from 35 to 21 when their effective rate, some thought, would have been under the nominal rate. In this case, LLCs, sub S's, don't have all the write-offs. So our effective rate is the nominal rate. And if we lose that, this economy will go back into the Obama doldrums.
We're supposed to believe that Mike Bloomberg is a moderate, and I guess he is compared to Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, et cetera, but I don't think he deserves that label if he's going to jack up the actual taxes paid by the entrepreneurs and small business people of this country. In fact, I think that would really hurt the economy if we did that.
No doubt about it. When I watched in 17 December, Senator Ron Johnson weighed in because they were not going to do the pass-through, rate down. And when that happened, that encouraged all of us to invest, to raise wages. If we lose that, and that's not permanent until 2025, this economy will go right back to where it was before President Trump got here. High liquid incomes, Stu, which are probably mostly returns filed by the other side of the aisle anyway, there needs to be investigation on where we can gain revenue, but not out of middle America and not out of the job creators that generally pay as a pass-through with a K-1. If he does that, it'll get the economy tanked like it was before it got turned around in December of 17.
Would you consider, as a revenue raiser, the idea of taxing wealthier people, the 1%, the very rich, just taxing them a little more? Would you consider that?
Stu, high liquid incomes can probably afford to pay more, but not in the context when our deficit, which is $1 trillion, is mostly structurally due to spending. I'm on the budget committee, which is now the most irrelevant committee here, to find both sides of the story. But until we address spending, which is up 8 to 10% this year, and we've got record revenues, we're at the sweet spot of taxation. We need to get back to where we find out how to live within our means like we do in the state of Indiana. And then there might be revenue sources for highly liquid, big earners. Most of them aren't enterprisers. They're not Main Street America, but that's avoiding the real issue, getting a handle on spending if we're ever going to get rid of these deficits.
Does President Trump win Indiana again?
He does, because I, more than anyone here, freshly out of the real world, can see what a difference it's made. He won by 19 points. He's rolled back regulations that are not needed. He's put Main Street ahead of Wall Street in a way that's measurable. And I think in general, he has set the stage for prosperity. You can see it in all the numbers. My first home mortgage was 10%. And I heard just before I got on, mortgages are down around 3.5%. Why would we want to tinker with any of that? We get Bloomberg or any of the Democrats, all of that's gone.
I'm a little older than you, Senator, and my first mortgage was 12.5%. You can't beat that.
You didn't shop hard enough, Stu, I guess. Huh?
This was back in the day, sir, believe me. Senator Braun, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us, sir. See you soon.
You bet.
Yes, sir.
So you just watched a clip of everyone's favorite, relatively still new Senator Mike Braun from Indiana. And I have to give him credit, him and the journalist or interviewer know how to make stuff inaccessible for people who don't follow this regularly. Now, several times through that clip, you saw him mention December 17 or December 2017, and he's referring to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the major tax bill that was signed into law at the end of Trump's first year. Now, instead of just saying he's talking about the Trump tax cut or the actual name of the bill, he specifies the date, or rather the month in which it was signed. I have a problem with that because most people, I believe, even if they are aware of that law, which I doubt they are, would be able to tell you what that law was just by hearing the month and the year. But one of the things that proponents of the law do is that when someone like myself mentions that 83% of the wealth went to the top 1%, they seize on that comment, which again is true, and they try to, I'll explain, they take an anecdotal story and they spin it to where it somehow matters more than the actual statistic of barely anyone that wasn't already rich benefiting from that law. So when you mention 83%, which the interviewer doesn't mention this, but when you mention that, Braun will indicate that he's part of the 17% that were not part of the 1% who received benefits. And this is something I saw on Twitter. I mentioned this law to one person and they went, oh, well, I just looked at my paycheck and I had $200 more. Which again, I'm not trying to concede the validity of, but the point is most people that were not already rich were not benefited from that law. And that's why the poll that they cite at the beginning, that one where more people are going for Bloomberg, more of the small business owners are going for Bloomberg than Trump, it's because they have seen the effects, or rather the lack thereof, that has been associated with that law, which is to date his only major overhaul of the economy. Trumponomics is literally that one bill. And I love how Braun can't answer a simple damn question he gets asked. Would you prefer that the wealthy pay more? Instead of just saying yes or no, he has this long, drawn-out answer about liquidation. And I mean, this is one of the reasons why I get so annoyed when I listen to a lot of politicians just give interviews, because they'll get asked something that's pretty direct. And occasionally you can have an answer that is kind of in the middle, but most of the time when people have answers, they still lean toward yes or no. If you ask me, should we get rid of the Electoral College? I'll say, I think we should find a way to make sure that the smaller states still have some say, but I lean toward yes. So that's me acknowledging that I'm not entirely sold on it. The other reason is because it seems very impossible it's even going to happen. But still giving you a definitive answer. And he could have done the exact same thing. But see, in that clip, he mentions, oh, well, I want to make sure that we don't spend so much, because if we save for a while, then we might be able to afford to do other things. That's code word for screwing with Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, because Trump, his favorite president, this man that he loves so much, literally has $1 trillion budget that came out last week. Have you seen Braun, and this interview is from last week, have you seen Braun make any comments about this budget is absurdly large? Oh my God, this is horrendous? No. Instead, he's patty caking. Oh, he got rid of unnecessary regulations. What does that even mean? So no specifics. And then in the position you claim to have, which is being a fiscal conservative, gets thrown out the window because you support a president with $700 billion annual military budgets. So if he's okay with hundreds of billions of dollars being spent overseas for these conflicts, you can reasonably assume he is mostly talking about doing things with respect to domestic programs, cutting those. And I do really like the nonsense that was in there that interviewer had, where he was like, Bloomberg is considered a moderate. And I guess that's true compared to someone like Sanders. But when he's talking about raising it back to 39%, it's like, look, when someone is called a moderate, it's usually because of all of their positions with respect to where they are, whether it's their party or what they can refer to themselves as politically, so liberal or conservative. So if you're a Republican and you support gay marriage, you would be considered a moderate Republican. Now, if you're a Democrat and you support gay marriage, that's just a regular Democrat. But if you're a Democrat who wants to cut a bunch of programs like Obama or Hillary, you'd be considered a moderate Democrat. So the term is, see, again, what they're trying to do is make it, they love this little thing where Bloomberg, even though I think he's a piece of garbage, is a moderate with respect to being a Democrat. But because this view, this position of his supposedly is the same one as Obama, who was also a moderate Democrat, they're going to call him a liberal or try to say that he's not as moderate as he seems to be. And I love that people can never make the connection here. So if he's trying to go back to the economy that Obama had, which had this 39% that was mentioned here, it all goes back to the neoliberal moniker that we give these people. I'll give Braun credit for something else. He said that Indiana is going to be won by Trump again, and I fully subscribe to that. But that's only because Obama barely won it. And prior to that, since the, was it the 68 election, which was Nixon, that started Republicans winning that state election year after election year, decade after decade. It's just kind of sad that the things that he cites for why Trump will win it, which again is mostly associated with the party that he's running under. Because remember, between 1968 to 2008, or rather 2004, excuse me, every single time a Republican ran Indiana as for president, they won. Braun is trying to make it seem as if Trump actually did something special to win that state when all of them win it. You can go look at the electoral maps of every one of those elections. The Republicans won all of them except for 2008. They have been winning that state for over 50 years, with the exception of one time. And Braun tries to make it seem as if Trump has done so much for the average man and helped them out entirely. And no, it's the same reason that whoever the Democratic nominee is going to win California, because it's less about the particular nominee than it is about the party. Whoever the Republican is going to win Alabama, they're going to win Mississippi, they're going to win Missouri, and whoever the Democrat is going to win California, they're going to win New York. It's all part of that same cycle of tribalism. So Trump will win Indiana for tribalism, which isn't new, because again, it's been done for years before him. But I just wish Braun would be honest instead of trying to go, oh yes, Trump's helped out the average man so much. Ridiculous. So I hope you enjoyed this breakdown. Braun is a piece of work and just a liar like the rest of them.